What's going on, everybody? How's everybody doing today? Today is Tuesday, and when it's Tuesday, it's time for the Sports Lounge. It's powered by the Mogul brand. We're super excited to get with you guys today. We're going to be talking about everything that has to do with football today. There's been a lot of stuff going on in football, and I'm super excited to bring this content to you. You guys don't forget to like, share, comment. I love that when you guys do that. But not only that, just to let you guys know, we're also on Instagram, Twitch. We just got our TikTok, so go over there, subscribe to our TikTok, go follow us there. It'll help us to go be able to go live and give you guys even more content. So go check us out on TikTok. It's brand new. We just started it this week, and I'm excited to have you guys on there. But take it away, Mark.
Hey, so again, welcome everybody. Hey, we want to make sure we give recognition to our sponsors. First off, we have Brian Martino Construction. You need any of your remodel needs or anything like that, just hit up Brian at Brian Martino Construction. Um, and then on top of that, hey, just so you know, whenever you get a job on a full remodel for whatever bathroom, kitchen, anything over $10,000, they even give you an extra $1,000 off. Just let them know the Sports Lounge sent you. Secondly, we have, of course, number one sports fan located in Tulare, Visalia, and Hanford. Hey, it's coming up to playoff time. Go get your jerseys, get your hats, get whatever you need. And, that's going to be one of the best places to go right here locally. And next thing you know, we got Cali Built Graphics. They take care of all of our needs, getting our hats, shirts, everything like that. Hey, if you even need a car wrapped, go hit up Rigo. Tell them the at Cali Built Graphics. Tell them that the number one's the Sports Lounge sent you. So again, we want to thank our sponsors. Let's get on with the show.
All right, first question of the day. As we always do, we're going to do a recap of week 14. Guys, can you believe that there's only like 4 weeks left of football? That is crazy.
Get
It
down
went
the
by
grind
so
now.
quick. Yeah, so we're getting down to the nitty gritty. Teams are getting eliminated. Teams are clinching now. Super excited about that. We just clinched our playoff spot, and so I'm excited about that. Not excited about how we played, but I'm excited that we clinched. But all that to say is, go ahead and pick a game that from Thursday to Sunday that stood out to you guys, and let's chat about it. Let's dialogue. And if you guys have one, put it in the chat box. We'll get to it as soon as we can. But yeah, let's go.
Dupree, what do you got? What was the game that stood out to you?
It was the Vikings game. I don't know if you guys still see Sam as not being that quarterback and not being a believer, but 5 touchdowns, went over 200 when it comes to his passing. He got everybody involved when it came to the passing, creativity. He was running away, he was getting away. Like what more can this man do? They are now 11 and they're now up there with the Lions. So and they
Yeah,
and Green
11-2.
Bay. So I don't see what else can you do to make anybody believe?
Well, I will say this. I mean, at the end of the day, they played against the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta Falcons haven't been the Atlanta Falcons since week 4. I mean, not to take away from what Sam Darnold did in that game. Obviously, that's incredible. They're all athletes. They all line up the same exact way. But at the end of the day, he did beat up on a Atlanta team that hasn't played to their potential. I mean, since like I said, since week 4, I mean, Kirk Cousins, even though he had 344 yards, he had no touchdowns and he threw 2 picks in that game. So I guess the real question is in this game, in this particular thing, is not the fact that to take away from the Vikings win, but is it time for Michael Penix Jr. to take over that team? I think that should be the conversation after seeing what they did on that. I mean, 2 picks, no touchdowns. That's craziness.
For me on that game, actually, you talk about Atlanta hasn't shown up since week 4. I actually think it's been a little longer than that. I want to say they haven't shown up since what was it, 2016 when they went to the Super Bowl. That's the last time realistically Atlanta showed up to anything. They spending the money they did on Kirk Cousins, that right there is one of the big things that a lot of people question. But then on top of that, drafting Penix after spending the money on Kirk Cousins did not make any sense whatsoever. Kirk Cousins is he's not playing horrible. I mean, he's getting the yards that he's needed. He's just here's the in all honest truth. You have a team that is not made of, I mean, you got Darnell Mooney. That's your number one receiver. I mean, that's not saying much. I mean, Kyle Pitts, he's above average, and average to above average tight end. I mean, you got Drake London, who's not horrible, but when you're playing a team like the Vikings, where they have a very explosive secondary, don't expect to score a lot of touchdowns. Harrison Smith, Jack Griffin, Byron Murphy, lining up out there on defense. Blake Cashman, another one. I mean, so you got guys that are lining up out there that it's just like, hold up. It's how am I going to get to scoring? And, Kirk Cousins actually had a chance to score, but he ended up throwing that pick in the end zone there towards the end of the game, which realistically it wasn't even relevant. The catch that killed the Falcons was they gave up. They were tied, guys. They were tied in the third quarter. All of a sudden, Minnesota scored 21 points in the fourth. So you talked about how can you not be a believer in Sam Darnold? Yes, Sam Darnold literally almost had a perfect QBR. 22 of 28, 347, 5 touchdowns. He was sacked 4 times. They had 115 yards total rushing. Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson both went off. There was a lot of blown coverage. Let's be honest. There was a lot of blown coverage plays when it comes to Atlanta secondary. When you got Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson, one breaking off for a 49-yard touchdown, the other one breaking off for a 52-yard reception. I mean, what do you expect? You're going to get blown out. So I'm still not a believer in Sam Darnold. I think he's adapted to his system. I think he has a very good offensive line. TJ Hawkinson is starting to show up, 4 catches, 4 out of 5 on receiving with 45 yards. He hasn't made obviously the big touchdown catches or anything like he was doing. But over and all, I mean, yes, Minnesota's playing great. But again, Minnesota really hasn't played, the 2 games they lost was to the Lions and the Rams. They almost lost to the Packers in week 4. But other than that, I mean, if you think about Minnesota's schedule, you had a banged up 49ers. Yes, they beat a good Texans team. They barely beat, the Packers, which that game actually, Jordan Love went out in that game. They beat the Jets, like I said, the 2 L's that they had, but then they had wins against the Colts, Jaguars, Titans, Bears, Cardinals, and Falcons. That's the Jaguars and Titans just scored 16 points combined. So those are really the Colts. I mean, the Bears are the only team that actually they've had a challenge. The Cardinals was a good win, that they had last week, and they had 2 tough weeks in a row at getting the wins on whether it being comebacks or. Obviously the Bears win was controversial because it was a bonehead play by Caleb Williams and also the head coach that led to his demise. But they still play the Bears again. Then they have the Seahawks, Packers, and Lions. So you got literally divisional opponent, a possible division winner, along with divisional opponent. So let's be honest. I'm thinking they might lose 3 out of the next 4. So if they can get by. If they can get by the Packers and the Lions, at least one of the Packers, either Packers or Lions, they can get by either one of those, plus beat the Seahawks. If they go 3-1, if they even went 2-2, man, Sam Darnold's had a decent year, but for me, I'm still not impressed. He's just good in the system. We talked about it last year when he was with the Niners. He was good with the system. Brock Purdy, good with the system. That's what he's used to running. And so you got to give credit where credit is due. But am I going to try and sign Sam Darnold to a big contract extension just because he's had a decent year? I'm not. I want to say I think this is actually his most yards completed in a season. I think he actually broke his own personal record. So he's not been very successful. I mean, he's had a game with 3 interceptions. He's had a game with, I think, 4 or 5. I mean, something like that. So that's where I'm like, he's playing against a bunch of bums. So, I mean, yeah, it's a needed win, but is it a good win? I don't know. Mikey, what game do you got?
I got the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay Packers versus Detroit. Very good game. The first half was worrisome. I think the Packers got off to a slow start. They didn't score any points in the first quarter. They scored a touchdown in the second quarter, but it was 17. It was 17-7 at half. They came back and scored two touchdowns in the third. They scored 10 points in the fourth, made it 31-34. What stood out to me was the fact that the Lions, they're still winning games with 25 total injuries. And Dan Campbell is living and dying by the fourth down gambles. That's what that is really what won them that game is, Dan Campbell, his gamble paid off. He is consistent on that fourth down. And we've seen it last year in the playoffs where it hurt him. And I think it's going to hurt him again in the playoffs this year. And, with that many injuries, more conservative ball, I understand that, Jared Goff had 3. He was 32 for 41, 283, 3 touchdowns, and he did have an interception that game. Jordan Love was 12 for 20, 206 with 1 touchdown in that game. But what was most impressive is they shut down the run. Montgomery actually, instead of Gibbs, Montgomery was 14 carries, 51 yards, and a touchdown, where Josh Jacobs could have ran. If he would have got fed the ball 7 more times, he would have easily been over 100 yards. But he only had 18 carries, 66 yards, but he also had 3 touchdowns. So, Josh, we're understanding that Josh Jacobs is now getting off. He's been hot lately. Feed him the hand. If everything needs to run through Josh Jacobs at this point, I think the Packers need to realize that and, feed him to open up other lanes and other people, because you just don't have the star wide receivers anymore. So that's what stood out to me. Because look at it. 4 receptions, 114 yards from Watson. Yeah, that's great and everything, but you didn't score no touchdowns. There was no dynamic plays. Where on the other side, they had Williams with 5 receptions, 80 yards, no touchdowns. And that game was really interesting. It showed Detroit can be very vulnerable in some situations. A lot of the play calls. There was chances for Green Bay to win that game, like literally take over that game and win it, and they just didn't capitalize on those. And for me, that's hope. For me, knowing that the Lions they're human. They could get beat. It's just going to take the right team with the right defense, and you see what happens when you get pressure on Goff. It doesn't go well for him. But what I guess the biggest highlight taken away from this game is the fact that the Detroit Lions, how many of those 26 will be back by the time they get to the NFC Championship? Because that's going to matter. And if they're, can get some of that strength back to make it competitive. And if they're going to end the season with the 1 seed, obviously you don't want Jared Goff going out in the snow. You don't want Jared Goff playing in inclement weather. Obviously he has played, but he hasn't played very, very well in weather like that. And then if you're going to a hostile environment such as Philly, how's that going to play out? You know,
Right.
so that's going to be really, really interesting. That was just one of the two games, but I'll just stick to that game for now, unless we don't mention the other game.
For me, I'm going to kind of chime in on that one. So you talked about the injuries. That is one of the biggest things that Detroit is running into. Brian Branch actually, he ended up coming out in the game because he was cramping real bad. And then they also, Alan McNeil, defensive tackle, he had a head. They were trying to say possible concussion, but it wasn't from that. But now this is one thing that people got to realize. So as of right now, Taylor Decker is listed as questionable, which is big for them because needing help at the offensive line. That's one of their star offensive linemen. But they have lost guys like Mekhi Wingo, who has been put on the IR. But the big one actually is Khalif Raymond, who I feel is a great number 2 receiver with Amon St. Brown. But he's been on the IR since November 27th. So he's 2 weeks in. I want to say he has, 4 weeks or 6 weeks? I think it's 4 weeks that they got to stay on the IR, or 6 or something like that.
4 weeks.
But they're saying he's possibly coming back. But now the biggest one that you got to look at, and this was just released 2 days ago, that Detroit is holding out hope. Jay Glazer actually reported it on Fox NFL Sunday. The Lions are holding out hope that Aiden Hutchinson is going to make it back for the NFC Championship game.
For what?
You playing in a Super Bowl. Why not? If you can play.
So ruin your 25 season, something goes bad? Just to go out there and do what?
They play. It's the same concept, brother, as we sit there and we talked about the whole injury thing with Tua. Why is he going back out there? Because he's chasing the Super Bowl ring. That's what they're all.
No, I think Tua's out there for the money.
Well, I think Aiden Hutchinson has the heart. He's gonna let and is it right? You got a kid who's broke his tibia and fibula. I mean, think about it. When is NFC Championship? What is that? Last weekend, like the third weekend in January.
Mm-hmm.
So he's already, guys. Just so you know, Aiden Hutchinson is already walking without crutches. He's just using an air boot. He's already walking. So the injury itself, it might have snapped like it did, but maybe because it was a clean break, it allows it to heal. I mean, crap. Everyone knows you get a major break like that. What do? They take some metal and toss the metal in with some screws and plus all this technology. It's not like when we were younger, where when something broke, it took you freaking forever to heal. They have capabilities for things to come back, to heal faster. So for him to come back, I mean, hey, I don't think he's going to come back if he's not, he can perform to hit the level that he wants to perform. But that's not a bad way to, look towards the end of the season. Realistically, if you can get someone like him back, you can get someone like Mekhi Wingo back later on towards the year. That'll shore up a lot of their injuries. So they're actually saying, I want to say it was like 30% are expected to return. So that you can't really complain about that. You know what I mean?
Not complaining, but I think it's a stupid move if he decides to play.
I thought it was a stupid move when Tua decided to come back.
Yeah.
But, at the end of the day, they know their body's better than us. As for me in the game that I had, that stood out to me was where'd it go? Give me a second. Sorry, I had it here. We aren't even going to waste our time talking about the Jaguars and Titans or nothing like that. But no, it was the Bills and the Rams.
Yeah, that's the second game I had.
Josh Allen, 3 touchdown passes, 3 touchdown runs. Pretty impressive. They did, for me, that game, Josh Allen didn't do anything wrong. You're talking about there was no fumbles, no interceptions. It just Matt Stafford, did he play decent? Yeah. But the big thing was my boy Puka Nacua is back.
Did he not Did he not drop like one ball again? Like he caught everything.
No, he went 12 for 14, so he dropped 2 passes. Yeah, he had 2 missed targets. I'm not gonna say he had 2 drop passes. He had 2 missed targets. But he went for 162, and then Cooper Kupp went 5 for 8 for 92. So I mean, Puka's just showing like, hey, everyone talks about is Puka number 1 or is he the number 2? In my book, Puka is number 1, and it just shows you on the stat line. But it's AJ Brown and Devontae Smith are a great receiving core for Philadelphia. Probably one of the best duos in the NFL. But I'm gonna be honest with you, if I had to choose between the two, I'm taking Cooper and Puka if they're both healthy all the time over Devontae and AJ.
That's crazy.
You don't say that's an Eagle fan. I mean,
ask anybody else on TikTok. Ask anybody else anywhere else in the world. That is crazy. But
a healthy prime Cooper Kupp and Puka for AJ Brown and Devontae. I think Devontae has not. Here's the reason why. Here's the reason why I think Puka and Cooper are a better combination, better duo at wide receiver than AJ Brown and Devontae. The reason being is because AJ Brown. AJ Brown allows his ego. It's about me, 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 me. AJ Brown is literally, in my opinion, AJ Brown is probably the number 1 receiver in the league. I don't think anybody is better than him. I really don't. But I don't think Devontae is good enough to supersede because between Puka and Cooper, realistically, Puka is probably the number 3, number 4 receiver, and Cooper's right there behind on his tail. I think Devontae Smith is closer down to the, about 10 in the 10 to 15 range right now. But when you have a guy like AJ's like, it's about me, 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 compared to you have a guy like Cooper and Puka, when you watch them play, it's about the team. What's best for the team? So that's where I look at it. I look at it as a team perspective. Statistically, overall, when it comes to if I would rather have a big body, wide receiver, yeah, 100%. If I can take AJ Brown, I would take AJ Brown. But the problem that I see is Devontae Smith because AJ wanting the ball more, plus, like I said, and I'm not talking about the injury aspect. I'm not talking about the injuries, because Puka was out with injuries, Cooper was out with injuries, Devontae Smith has been out with injuries. I'm talking about overall, playing as a team vibe. Like, who can I think I would be better with a wide receiver duo? Me personally, I do think Puka and Cooper's better. But I do think, again, AJ Brown is probably the best wide receiver in the league. So when you're one of the best wide receivers and you act like you're one of the best wide receivers, it's about putting the team first. And Mikey, before the show, we talked about it. You had mentioned it. I hadn't heard anything about it, but it's like, no. Locker room talk, we need to worry about passing. I mean, bro, you're close to I think he's at 1,000 yards, right? Already? Or no?
I don't know the stat line right now off the top of my head. But it's nothing that a Philadelphia Eagle would deny the fact that or disagree with him. It was the comments that were made that should have kept it in-house to keep so that the media wouldn't run with their own narrative. Obviously, the pass game needs to improve. Every Eagle fan will tell you that. Every football fan will tell you that. But to your point,
okay. I got a question though.
To your point, yeah, go ahead.
How does the pass game need to improve when the guy has 2,602 yards passing? He has 5 interceptions on the season. He has a QBR of 102.4, a completion rate of dang near 70%. How the heck does it need to improve?
Yeah. So
He's an 836
that's just a
right
person
now.
that
so that's where I was going with it. So let me finish my piece. So obviously we turned into a run heavy team, right? So we turn into a run first team now. He's only averaging, I don't know what his average is, but last game he only had 108 yards passing. Okay. He's actually ranked 28 in passing, Jalen Hurts. Even though he's been playing very, very well, and we understand that Saquon Barkley is the best running back in the league, and we're winning games through him to open up everything else, right? There's going to be a time where he's going to need to throw for 250. We just don't know if he can do that without any mistakes. He's done that thus so far because we've been playing extremely well running the ball. But what if we run into a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers next week who shut the run down? Can he win the game with his arm with no mistakes? That's a question
All
that
right.
needs to be answered.
All
But
right,
to
I
your
want to
point,
ask.
to your point on the duo, because of that, two different coordinators, two different quarterbacks. Matt Stafford
100%.
throws the ball more than he'll ever run the ball or hand it off. So therefore, Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, when you look at the stats, are going to look way better than Devontae Smith and AJ Brown. But with that being said, if you're looking at a duo, one of the best duos in the league over anybody is going to be AJ Brown or Devontae Smith. If you ask anybody, if you put them with a gunslinger like Matthew Stafford, they would get more yards than Puka Nacua, hands down.
Okay, we had this conversation last week. It was actually off the air, but even part of it was on the air. Why do the Eagles turn into a run team?
Why
are they? Why are they a heavy favored run team? Why do they run a lot?
Number one, it works. And number two, because it allows Jalen Hurts to not make so many mistakes.
How about number two? Let's go ahead. Okay, then what's number three then? What's the number 3 reason?
If there was a third one, the RPO game is working for him.
How about the fact being that they've been ahead in majority of their games?
That's not true, because against the Ravens, they were down 9-0.
Oh, 9-0. That's literally.
They've been behind a lot of their games because we don't score in the first quarter. The last 9 games, we've never scored in the first quarter.
I'm talking about by the third quarter. So if you're ahead by the third quarter, you do not throw the dang ball whatsoever. You're going to run. Tossing a pass in there. You know, against Green Bay, they were ahead in week 1. To the Falcons, they were actually, by the third quarter, they were down. Okay, I'm only going to the third quarter. Against the Saints, it was actually 3-0 in the third. You know, but Jalen Hurts, he sure did manage to throw for 311 yards, only had 9 incompletions. Against Tampa, yeah, they got onslaught, man. I mean, I ain't gonna lie on that one. Baker just showed up and showed out on that game. You know, against the Browns, they were ahead. Against the Giants, of course, they were ahead. Against the Bengals, they were ahead. You know, that's what I'm getting at. When you look at those things, you know, against Jacksonville, they were ahead. Dallas ahead. Washington, were they ahead again? Oh, no, they were actually behind against Washington. So the Rams, they were ahead. The Ravens, they were behind. Panthers, they were behind. So out of their wins, they've only got 4 games that they were behind. So you see what I'm saying? When you're ahead in the game, you don't have to pass a lot. That's the catch. And you have to understand that. And A.J. Brown's like, he's used to playing on, when he was with Tennessee, dude, they were horrible. Always, it was like, I got to be that guy to catch. I got to bring us back. Well, guess what? You don't have to be that guy. Except that you're only going to get like 1,200 yards, receiving, which is not a bad year. That's a Pro Bowl player. But that's what I'm getting at. Yes, does it work? You have the greatest running back in the league, 100%. Not going to deny it. You have the number 1 receiver in the league. Not going to die that. There's a reason why Philadelphia is 11-2. That Falcon games, they barely lost. Realistically, if it wasn't for that comeback win that Atlanta had, they would be 12-1. They've had games that they've won that they shouldn't have. They've had games that the game that they lost, Atlanta, that should have been a win, but they screwed up. But that's what I'm trying to get at. That's what people got to understand. It's about the way the game is. When you have a run game and the catches is they're splitting the ball evenly. It's not like it's a heavy run game. Realistically, it's close to 50%. I think it's like 55-45 between run and pass, and it varies every week. It might be a pass-heavy week, might be a run-heavy week. It depends on what defense they're playing. I will give credit to the offensive coordinator. He's playing against the weaknesses of his opponents. I'm not going to give Sirianni credit. I still think he's a moron. I think he does a lot of stupid things. But the offensive and the defensive coordinator, they understand what their jobs are. They understand what their tasks are. I'm playing against a great secondary. I'm going to run it down your stinking throat. If I'm playing a run-heavy defense, a lot of RPOs, a lot of rollouts. Let's use Jalen's legs. Things like that. So that's my opinion on that. But that's just my thought. That's why for me, I would, yes, I agree with you. Stafford is going to throw the ball probably 30% more than Jalen Hurts does now. But that's who Matt Stafford is. That's who he's always been. When you go into that system, guess what you're going to do? You're going to pass the ball. You look at Brock Purdy. Do they run a lot? Even when C-Mac was healthy, it wasn't about the run. It was a check down pass. That's what they did a lot. Slants, very short, use the run some, but it was a pass heavy offense, but it was a short pass offense. So they have coordinators that are establishing to them. But like I said, the biggest problem that I have right now is it seems to happen at the end of every year. A.J. Brown gets upset because he's not getting the stats that he wants. Well, you're 63 yards from having 1,000 yards receiving. And he's even missed how many games, Mikey? Has A.J. Brown missed?
6.
A.J. Brown's missed 6 games?
Yeah.
And you're literally on the verge of breaking 1,000 yards playing in only 7 games. Has he missed 6? No, he's missed 3.
Has it only been 3?
Yeah, A.J. Brown's only missed 3.
What was Devontae?
3. Dallas Goedert missed, as of right now, Goddard has missed 4.
He'll miss 8.
Yeah. So, but still, guy's averaging 17.4 yards a catch, 84 yards a game passing. I mean, those aren't bad stats. It's just you got someone that's causing a toxic environment, and that's what you don't need. He thinks he should be up there, and I need to be number one. I need to be number one. I wouldn't care about being number one. I'd care about my team being number one. Right now AJ Brown is. If you were to add, and this is what he has to understand. If you take the 3 games and if he figures out how to stay healthy, add 83.6 yards. Let's just go with his average. So you got an extra 240. What is that? Actually, you got 250 yards more receiving. Guess what? He's already over 1,000. He's at 1,086. He don't know how to stay healthy. Only person who should be mad is himself of why he's not 1,000 yards. Because if he plays in all the games and continues to get his average of those games, and that's just going off of his average, that puts him at the number 3 receiver in the NFL. So stop blaming others because you can't figure out how to keep yourself healthy. It's not Jalen Hurts' fault. If you're winning a game, it's not his job to keep passing the damn ball. You're winning. You don't play for stats. If you want to play for stats, go play for the Lakers. You're playing for one thing and one thing only. That is to be at the end of the year, hold up the Lombardi Trophy. So that's my spiel on that.
Cool. All right. Going back to the Rams and Bills game. 44-42. I think Josh Allen did it with his arm, and he did it with his legs. And I think they're a one-trick pony. You take some of that away, they're going to lose that game miserably. What's going to happen if you score 42 points and you're the only one scoring other than Shahir? What's going to happen to you when you get the playoffs? You can't do it all by yourself every single game. So I think that the Bills took a step back this last week, and they need to figure out what's going to happen going forward. The Rams are getting hot at the right time, and usually those teams are spoiler teams going into playoffs. I could even see them winning division at this point if they continue to play the way that they're playing. And because realistically, the Cardinals are not playing well. Niners are banged up, and the Seahawks don't know if they're going to have a good game or a bad game. It's just they show up and whatever happens, happens. Rams are actually putting it together, and I believe they're only like one game back from them, and they still play the Seahawks. I believe. Let me see. Yeah, they beat the Seahawks already once, so they win the tiebreaker already. And then they play them at the end of the season. That could be for division, and they're only one game back. So, and the only people they have on the list is they got the Niners, the Jets, the Cardinals, and then the Seahawks. So, realistically, they could still win that division. And the Seahawks have Green Bay Packers, Vikings, Bears, and then the Rams. So that's a little bit harder schedule than the Rams have. And when you're playing at that kind of level and just beat the Bills with a high-scoring game, you just can't help but say they're scoring in bunches just like the Bills are, but they're not a one-trick pony. They're distributed in the ball well. You mentioned it, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua. Everybody has their part in that win. Kyrie Williams, 29 carries, 87 yards, 2 touchdowns. And the run game is working. The passing is working. The defense is the only one not showing up for either team that I could see if it's 42-44. So if they tune up that defense, they could be a scary ball team going into playoffs and actually pull off a victory in the first round and, spoil somebody's hopes to going to the championship. But I think it was more impressive for the Rams to win than for Josh Allen, all the glory going to Josh Allen for him scoring 6 touchdowns.
Yeah. You mentioned, with them being one game back, and I want people need to also understand Arizona's in it too.
Yeah, but they're not playing well. They lost their way.
You had division rival against one, and then one of the top teams. We're actually just talking about this at work. They played a divisional opponent, one of the top teams in the NFL, a divisional opponent. They finished out with Patriots, Panthers, Rams, Niners. Realistically, they can go 3-1. Guess what? 3-1 puts them at 9-8.
That won't be enough.
Hold on. Okay, so
the Rams game though.
Yeah, the Rams are going to win that game. You don't know what's going to happen in that Niner game.
Well, let's say they can
Panthers,
go.
They beat the. You don't even know what's going to happen in that Panther game at this point. The way that Bryce Young has been playing in the last 3 weeks, nobody's even getting that boy the credit ever since he came off the bench. They've been playing really good football. See, I mean, and they're going to Carolina. The only team that I can realistically say right here, right now, I'll bet money that they'll win is the Patriots. All the other ones are coin flips.
Every Sunday's a coin flip. I'm just saying you can have a 3-way tie at 9-8 in the NFC West. You imagine realistically, guys. So, because Seattle, like you said, they have Packers, Minnesota, Bears, Rams. Let's say
they're losing 3 of those.
So they're going 1-3. So that puts them at what? 9-8.
Mm-hmm.
So the Rams you gave the Rams the win in that game. So you got the Niners, Jets, and the Seahawks. So is what the Rams have.
They'll win out.
You're going to say they're going to beat the Cardinals and the Seahawks?
Yes, sir.
No, not happening. Here's the catch. If they win out, what does that put them at? Because they have
10-7.
No, they won't win out. They're not going to beat both the Cardinals and the Seahawks.
Okay, they lose one of those. Okay, they lose one of those games.
I can see them losing to the, like you said, you can see them losing to the Niners. I think they finished 9-8.
Nah, they're not losing 3 games.
And same thing with the Cardinals, man. I mean, Cardinals go 3-1. Guess what? That's giving the loss. They take the loss to the Rams. But if they go 3-1, that puts them at 9-8.
Mm-hmm.
So that division is, realistically, Arizona, Seattle holds the tiebreaker over Arizona. If the Rams beat the Cardinals, that means they split. But the Cardinals hold, so they'll split with the Rams. Dude, let's be honest. I'm not saying you're going to have 9-8 teams making the playoffs. As I don't know, man. As bad as the NFC South is too.
Mm-hmm. It all depends on who loses, really. These coin flip losses.
But really, realistically, you've got Detroit, Minnesota, Green Bay. Those are playoff teams. Let's toss Tampa in there as of right now. Let's say Seattle. So you got that's your playoff schedule right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Toss in maybe the Commanders. At the 7 seed. So I don't know, man. It's gonna be crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that NFC West, that of course, it's gonna be the division to watch. The NFC South is gonna be the division that shouldn't make playoffs at all. So It's going to be pretty interesting. What else we got, Mikey?
I'm gonna go through the list, and whichever game you're most excited to watch this Sunday, talk about it. Why it's the most exciting game that you're looking forward to watching, and then we'll go to our top five. So on Thursday night, we have the Rams versus the Niners. Sunday, we got Steelers and Eagles, Ravens and Giants, Jets and Jaguars, Cowboys and Panthers, Commanders and Saints, Bengals and Titans, Chiefs and Browns, Dolphins versus Titans, Colts and Broncos, Patriots and Cardinals, Bills and Lions, Buccaneers and Chargers, Green Bay Packers, and the Seahawks. Monday Night Football, we have a doubleheader with the Falcons and Raiders, Bears and Vikings. Capri, what game are you most excited to see and why?
Right now, it had to be that Lions game. We got to see if they truly can keep going and stop doing these fourth downs and see if they can really keep this up. Because these fourth downs have been the miracle workers for them. So we got to see what else they can do besides the fourth down check down.
I'm just going to say this. Everyone talks about let's stop that fourth down, but, if it's not broke, don't fix it. That's the old saying. Oh, wait, that's right. Who else does that fourth down a lot of on shorts? That's right. Philadelphia. They do the same thing. Everyone talks, guys, Mikey said it last week. It's not a tush push. It's not a tush push. All that it is a quarterback sneak. That's all that it is. It's just, again, you have two guys that can squat a combined 13 freaking 100 pounds. You ain't going to stop, on something when you got two guys that are pushing like that. So, yeah, nobody can perfect it better than the Eagles. But when you have a guy that has, let's be honest. Imagine this, Mikey. You being an Eagles fan. Imagine having Dan Campbell as your head coach in Philadelphia. So do you think they could go undefeated with a guy like Dan Campbell?
No, it's same result. It's too different. I think Ben Johnson is a better coordinator than Kellen Moore is, so you would have to bring Ben Johnson over. But I think Vic Fangio is a better defensive coordinator than what they got. So it's more than just Dan Campbell. And to be completely honest, Dan Campbell and his style of playing stresses me out a little bit. Nick Sirianni pisses me off because of some stuff, but the way that Dan Campbell runs his team just stresses me out. Like I couldn't watch a single game being an Eagles fan because his tactics are just too all over the place for me. And 9 times out of 10, it works for him. Look what happened this last week. It could have been over, but it wasn't. With the handoff, when Goff fell, they went for it. They ended up getting it. But I think it would be the same result. You have two coordinators. The difference is that they have Ben Johnson over there, which I think is a better offensive coordinator than Kellen Moore.
All right.
But to your point to fourth down, there's a difference between brotherly shove or the quarterback sneak than them actually handing the ball off or throwing the ball on fourth down. It's way different. And they almost lost a first division the first round. They almost lost because of that fourth down, going for it for so many times. And then they definitely lost it. They lost the game in the next round because them going for it on fourth down. I understand you live and die by the fourth down, but there's sometimes you just got to punt that ball, boy, because you're on somebody else's 40-yard line. Like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Like, I get it, but that stuff stresses me out way too much. And Eventually, you're going to lose games that way unless you're going to brotherly shove it. And like you said, you got two people behind you that squat 1,000 pounds, and you're going to do that every single time. Then, you know, there's like a night. What is it? Like a 97% right now, 97% rate winning. It only
Yep.
stopped it 3% of the time. I
Yeah.
like those I like those chances over what Campbell's been doing on
Yeah.
fourth down.
I mean, but see, he wouldn't have to worry about trying to figure something out. He's trying to make something. He's like, look, I got to seal this win. So for me, that's where I just look at it.
Not all the time though. He's done it in the first half. Like you're ahead, bro. Like what are we doing here?
Exactly. Like I said,
We've seen him do it all phases of the game. We've seen him do it on fourth down, all phases of the game. Behind, ahead, you know, we it's not just trying to seal the game. Yeah, that last game he's trying to seal it. I get it. Same thing what we did with Saquon Barkley when Barkley dropped that pass and we're trying to seal the game. We should have ran it. We should have did the brotherly shove. You know, Sunshine was on here last week and we said that, right? But the thing about it is the fact that he does it all the time. Like,
Yeah.
you could probably if it's 3 yards or shorter, yeah, he going for it on fourth down. Don't even think about it. Stay on the field. I don't care where we at. He could be on the 1 yard line on the other people's on the other people's side of the field, and he going for a fourth down.
Yep.
But
All right.
going back to that Bills and Lions game, this is where we see if Jared Goff, Jared Goff can throw and score touchdowns in bunches. We're obviously going to see it in Bills, and Bills can do it. We've seen how they're a one-trick pony, how they can score and a lot, put a lot of points on the board. And let's see if Goff can outsling him, and that goes all the way back to reason why I bring that up is because now going back to the Jalen Hurts thing, that's why we're saying passing is so important. And I get your point when you're running the dang ball in your head and all that. I get all that. But when you're scoring in bunches, you're eventually going to have to use your arm. Eventually, A.J. Brown going to have to get loose. Eventually, Devontae Smith is going to have to get loose, and we're going to have to score like we did against the Bills last year when we had the high-scoring game, in that last scoring drive, because they do score a lot of points. And we got to see if we're going to see that from Jared Goff. And if we don't see that from Jared Goff, I'm telling you right now, the Lions are in trouble when it comes to playoffs.
All right.
But that's also the game that I would like to see, other than the Philly and the Steeler game, of course. But not too excited after what I heard and seen these last couple of days. So,
for me, I mean, I am gonna probably say, obviously those are two big games that I will try and watch. I have a feeling they're not going to televise the Philadelphia game here because they're going to waste their time showing the pathetic Chargers over a great game.
We were not
Dupree.
We are not that pathetic when it came to that Chiefs game.
Hey,
we
got
lost
the
our
dub.
number one receiver, and we don't have any other receivers that we have been playing throughout the season.
Dupree,
and
I'm surprised.
0 interceptions again from Justin Herbert. Again,
that's an important.
All season, he has no interception. He's thrown only one. He has 43 within the seasons. So you can't blame him for being a great quarterback. We blame.
That's an important game for you guys too, and Baker Mayfield is looking to get into the playoff conversation as well. So he's looking to win division as Falcons are starting to lose, and then you got the Chargers, who I believe they're at the 6th seed right now, looking to keep that spot. So that's a pretty interesting game too. You guys can't afford to lose because you got other teams that are right on your heels.
Because the Broncos are right there.
Broncos are right there to take that seat. Yeah. So the Broncos are obviously going to beat the Colts. Yeah. So
yeah, Chargers have 6, Broncos have 7.
Mm-hmm.
Or at 7.
And Broncos are going to beat the Colts, so I think it's a lot tougher game for you guys to beat the Buccaneers when the Buccaneers for some reason Baker Mayfield, when there's something on the line, he just plays a lot better.
Yeah, he does play better. He does play
So-
better. I do admit that. It's just we don't have receivers. Yes, Quentin is coming back into his game better, but it's coming back late, and he hasn't really had a chance to really play like that. But when he does play, he's catching, but he hasn't done like anything really big per se, except for this game last one he got a touchdown. He hasn't shown a lot of big wow ones that he's had the games he's played.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you got?
No,
What do you got, Mark?
I got those two games, and then on top of that, I actually Sunday night game Green Bay and Seattle. I think that's going to be a very important one for honestly for both teams. You know that's playoff for both teams is what it is. You know, because if Detroit takes the win, that means for Green Bay to keep up, they got to sit there and keep up by getting the win. But if they slip up against Buffalo, you know that right there that moves them up closer. The big catch with that is Minnesota's got Chicago. So Minnesota, realistically, if Minnesota wins, Chicago and Detroit loses, they're now tied.
Oh yeah, that's interesting too.
You know, so you're that puts you tied, but that also Green Bay wins, that puts them one game closer. Because I think the only catch is so right now Minnesota, they've lost to Detroit and they don't play them again until the end of the season. So that technically leaves Detroit in the lead in first because of head-to-head, but you know they still have one more game against each other. So even that Monday night game with Minnesota, that's going to be an interesting one because Minnesota's playing for that number one spot, you know, in the division, you know, and guess what? That means they can also be playing for a number one seed. So you have realistically three teams that have a chance playing for the number one seed in the NFC. You know, you got two teams that are tied and you got one that is a game ahead. So realistically, the Philadelphia game, the Detroit game, the Minnesota game, all are very important games to watch. So I don't have a preference, but I will enjoy watching all of those. So that's what I got.
All right, Dupree, here we go. Top 5. No John Cena, no Undertaker. Give us your top 5 in the NFL. No New York Liberty. Okay.
I know the season's over for them already, and they still won, even though it was a terrible win. Terrible win. Most terrible win I've ever seen in WNBA. But we won't go there. The top 5. Eagles.
Let's go.
Bills. Vikings. My last two, it's kind of Steelers. I don't know who I want to put last. If I'm going to put anyone last, it'd be Green Bay.
All right. No case. Okay, cool.
Mikey, who you got?
I don't believe in KC at all. That win was trash.
Yeah.
That win was trash. We all know it.
Yeah. So I got Detroit number 1, Philly number 2, KC number 3, Buffalo number 4, Pittsburgh number 5.
Win was trash, and you know it.
Wait. What do you have at 3? Who do you have at 3?
KC.
So I got
Trash.
Yeah. So go back to that game, their last game. They kind of proved some things to me that they were playing at a higher level. I was obviously going for, the Chargers in that game, but the Chargers couldn't score nothing in the first half, and that showed me that the Chiefs defense played extremely well that game. So for this week and this week only, you guys know I really don't have KC really on my list like that. But Mahomes did his thing to the Chargers that I didn't think that was going to happen, and that's why they made my list this week. They play really well football defensively, kept Mahomes in the game, which that's what they usually are known to do. and he did what he did, and they won that game. I wanted the Chargers to win that game, but it didn't happen. Mahomes came through, the defense came through, and
The
it
refs came
worked.
through.
Most of the refs came there with 5 penalties right in the first half of the game.
So for me, I've got Detroit at 1 after beating Green Bay, so that I do put them above Philadelphia. Philadelphia struggled this weekend, so that's why I had to drop them to number 2. They struggled with Carolina. At number 3, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers are playing great ball. They're showing us how to win, even though it's not always been pretty. But they're getting the important wins. So that's a good thing for them. Number 4, I have the Green Bay Packers. Or I'm sorry, no. Let me back up. I'm sorry. I've got Minnesota at 3 is what I had. My bad. I've got Pittsburgh at 4, and I've got the Packers at 5.
So no Buffalo on that list.
No, Buffalo, I have them sitting at 6. I felt that they shouldn't have lost that game. I said from the beginning that Green Bay was going to lose the game to Detroit. I've said it when we had Sunshine on here last week, even though everyone kept telling me Green Bay, and I'm just like, no, you guys, I've been watching Green Bay play too much, and I can tell you exactly what was going to happen, and guess what? Exactly what was going to happen is what happened. Jordan Love struggling with the passing. They don't have receiving cores. They showed again. They don't have receiving cores. They had to rely heavy on the run. But they still managed to take them and make them all the way to where they had to kick a game-winning field goal. So that's why I have them at 5. Buffalo with that loss. Realistically, when you look at that Buffalo loss to the Rams are a decent team, but they're not. I can't put that with that loss, even though Green Bay lost, I cannot put a Bills loss to a lower team compared to a Packers loss to the number 1 team in the NFL. So that's why I have to put Buffalo there at 6 and Green Bay at 5. So that's my top 5. But no, I don't know. Next week, it's going to be different. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of great games going on. And starting with Thursday Night Football, because, even though I can't stand either team, with the Rams and the Niners. But I will say this, you got 2 teams that are still playing within a division chance, that are still believing that they have a chance. So it's a must win for the Rams. The Niners know if it's a must win if they want to try and continue. So that's what that is to me. So, yeah. But no, that's what we got. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, so all those who are still tuned in are going to see it on the replay, and you watched this all the way to the end. Thank you so much. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Remember to like, share, subscribe. We're also on Facebook, or we're also on Instagram. We're also now on TikTok. Go check out our TikTok page. We're going to be doing some creative things on TikTok, going on with some creative people. And why I'm bringing that up, we're going to have a TikTok sensation who has grown to be a Philly legend on our, who also has his own podcast as well. Downtown Philly will be on the show next week at 6 p.m. 6 p.m. our time, 9 p.m. on the East Coast. If you guys are on the East Coast when he promotes, but yeah, so we'll be going on at 6 p.m. next week on a new time. We get somebody from the East Coast, we usually go up an hour. To honor them and their time. And so it's not so late, but Downtown Philly will be in the house. It's going to be an exciting week. Hopefully, it all goes good with the Pittsburgh Steelers. We should be having a good time up in here. And if we don't, we're still going to have a good time no matter what. But yeah, we're looking forward to having that guest on next week as we start collabing more. And then in 3 weeks from now, we're going to have NFL Network analyst on our show, Mike Perry as well. So super excited about the things that are happening with us. Stay tuned. There's more big things, more good content that is coming our way. And so thank you to each and every one of you guys that's been a part of it, whether you're in the chat or you're liking or sharing, you comment or you subscribe, or you're just up there and you're just watching us and you're just chilling at your house, and listening to our content. Thank you so much. Appreciate each and every one of you guys.
Yeah, and don't forget also, this actually on Saturday there is no college football. Well, I shouldn't say that. There is the Army Navy game, but they have announced obviously the final 12 for the college football playoffs, and yes, Tennessee is in it. But we're going to try and get some guests on our show. To whoever wants to hop on, man, I don't care. Hey, you want to talk some college football, bro? Let's plan on in all honesty, let's plan on 8 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. I do have a Christmas party. It is the lovely time of the year. But 8 o'clock Saturday morning, if you guys want to hop on, I'm going to hop on and talk a little bit about the college football playoffs and what to expect, because I don't know about you guys. I'm pretty excited. It's the first time that this has happened, with 12 teams. Another great thing for me is that, once Tennessee wins and beats Ohio State on the 21st, and that means they get to play against Oregon, Mikey's team, the Oregon Ducks. And the plan is for the Tennessee Volunteers to play on New Year's Day at the Rose Bowl. Be the first time ever in Tennessee Volunteer history. So God willing, we'll see Tennessee beat Ohio State, which I strongly do think they could. But having the chance to, I guarantee it. If that happens, I will be at the Rose Bowl, and I will make sure that we will go. You ain't gonna hear me, but I will be putting up snippets and things like that of the game on our channels and stuff like that, because I plan on being at the Rose Bowl live if that happens.
Should win that game.
Yeah, we should. I'm hoping. Between the offense that Tennessee has, but the biggest thing is, and what people got to remember, Tennessee is known for their defense. They ain't known for their offense right now. Even though they aren't giving Dylan Sampson credit as one of the top 5 running backs. I mean, ESPN actually don't even have him in the top 10. I'm just like, wait a second. Cats broke literally every Tennessee record this year, and you're not giving them no credit whatsoever. Not even the top. I'm like, besides Genty, I haven't found a running back that might be better than him.
That boy that's like Marshawn Lynch and Derrick Henry had a baby.
Yeah, that's a beast right there. That's what that is.
I can agree with that.
Marshawn Lynch and like Derrick Henry just had a baby, and that's Genty.
But I'm gonna say this, and I have no problem saying this. Genty has done amazing things, statistically on the season. But again, who did Boise State play? You got to give credit where credit is due. It's the same concept when everyone talks about, look at Colorado. Who did Colorado play? Tennessee has played 5 ranked teams. 5. Georgia played 5 ranked teams. I don't think Boise State even played a ranked team. In all honesty, I really don't think they did.
They played UNLV.
Who?
I mean, they're only ranked this year, so you really can't kind of count that.
You mean the one time that they were ranked at 25th because they squeaked into the brackets because everyone else was losing? Yeah, no,
I mean, you said they haven't played against a ranked team.
I'll give you that one. Okay, so they played. Sorry, guys, they played the 25th ranked UNLV.
Did.
But again, the one thing that I'm glad to see, and it made my day when they released the brackets is, and I will say this proudly.
They're ranked 20 right now. They beat the ranked 20 UNLV.
But were they ranked 25?
They weren't ranked though at that time.
They were ranked 20 when they beat them.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So the 20th ranked UNLV. But the one thing that is a great day, and it's been a great week, is because I can say this proudly, and I don't agree with the rankings completely.
They played they played against Oregon, and Oregon was ranked 7, and it was 34-37. They played
Okay,
the
so they had 2 ranked teams. Again, it's still they ain't been great.
that's pretty impressive though. 34
Yo.
to 37. They lost by 3 points to the number 1 team in the nation right now. They were ranked 7 at the time, but still, I mean, that's pretty impressive.
That just shows you that the Oregon can be beat. Oh, by the way, if you got a good run game, they can be beat because when you look at the stats on that game, I'm actually pulling it up right now. But anyway, we're going to save all this for Saturday's show. Like I said, I'm going to hop on early and spend a little time talking about it. But real
Penn
quick,
State has a decent run game, and it was 45-37.
Again, it shows that they can't stop the run.
I guess.
Genty had 192 yards rushing against Oregon.
It's Genty, Marshawn Lynch, and Derrick Henry. They just had a baby. What the heck? He's a good. He's gonna turn out to be a great running back for the NFL. He hasn't even grown into who he's supposed to be or what he's supposed to do. I think he's going to do really well. Whoever has him, hopefully it's a good team, and be able to treat that boy the right way and get him to his fullest potential. And I think he's going to do really great in the league.
Yeah, I agree with you. Hopefully he can stay healthy. That's going to be his biggest key is, because he's going to be getting used as a lot of punishment because guess what? Running backs are coming back.
Yeah.
It's not a run or not a pass heavy team, league anymore. So running games are coming back. So yep. So Saturday morning, I'm going to hop on here, like I said, and have a short show. But if you guys want to join in, hop on, man. Trust me, it is completely open. You want to talk college football? No NFL, no Major League Baseball, no NBA, because we don't care about nothing but actors. It is going to be 100% of nothing but college football playoff bracketology, and talk about the 12 that are there. So again, hop on Saturday morning. Looking forward to having one. Don't forget we have a guest next Tuesday at 6:00. But yeah, again, follow, share. We have Instagram, Twitch, YouTube. We have our Facebook page. I know you haven't seen us post up the videos. We try to get the replays up there, but
that's
they like to
free.
That exactly that's on. He's got to do his part.
Slacking.
On the Facebook.
Yeah, you're supposed to post the replay. You're supposed to post the Instagram and the Facebook. It posts the both at the same time.
Anyways, we'll talk to him off. We'll talk to him off camera.
Yeah. Anyway, so hey, don't forget.
He tripping.
Also, follow TikTok. Get us up on the followers so this way we can get going. So again, hope y'all have a good night.
About his beard. He's worried about his beard.
I mean, something. But
okay.
All right. Peace out, y'all.